Welcome to our Chewing the Accounting Fat show, episode 5. We will just allow a bit more time for everyone to join us. We've got quite a number of firms, and it's technically the second last week of the financial year. So if you're joining us, thank you. I know you guys will be working right up until next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, I think it's the 30th.
I think so, PJ.
Yeah. So we'll give everyone another 30 seconds, 60 seconds to come in. We've got a fantastic topic we're going to be going into a lot of detail about. So stick with us. We're going to be 60 minutes or so.
I want answers today, PJ. That's what I want. I want answers from Malcolm.
There'll be plenty of that as well. So we'll just let a few more people come in. Let me just check what's going on.
It's good that we're talking about technology and you've got no idea to use the iPad.
I have. It's come on. So again, thanks for joining us. Our episode 5 of Chewing the Accounting Fat show. Look, just before I introduce Jason and I introduce our special guest as well, I just wanted to give a big shout out to the number of firms. We work with a number of different firms here at the Professional Partners. And one of the great things, I just wanted to congratulate a number of the firms that won awards last Friday. So we have the Accountant Daily Awards in Sydney, up at the Star, and we couldn't get there. We've been in semi-lockdown, just out of lockdown here in Melbourne. But yeah, to look to the Ali Garrett, to the Emma Baxters, to the Rebecca Mihaliks, to the Trinities of this and Rod, if you're online, congratulations to all of your teams. Obviously, you guys have had a massive 12 months, and I think Rebecca Mihalik summed it up quite nicely by saying, we saved the economy, and I think you're right, that the work that the accounting industry has done over the last 12 months has been fantastic. So I just wanted to give a massive shout out to all of you that are online and to those that have been great supporters of the Professional Partners. Let's get into the show. All right. Welcome, Jason Cunningham.
Hey,
how are you?
Yeah, going really well, pal. You?
Yeah, very good, mate.
I'm up and about. I mean, it's nearly June 30. We get a bit excited around this time of the year, us accountants. Unnaturally excited, should I say, but I look, probably like most, just about had a gutsful. Just a little limping to the line, just a few trust distribution minutes to get done, a bit of late minute tax planning and getting our FBT stuff out the door. And you have a week off and then we roll over and we're all not lodged again. Wonderful. Happy days, huh?
So true. Looking forward to rollover. You having a break?
Yes, I am. We've got a few guys taking that first couple of weeks off in July. It's usually pretty quiet around that time.
Yep.
I'll sort of stick around. I'm going to go away at the end of August, I think, just before the finals. Yeah, good. And get a bit of sun on this anemic body of mine.
Yes, I must admit I like the sun. Yeah. And I'm struggling a little bit as well.
Lucky you're still using those legal solariums, Janso, which is always worked in your favour.
Always helps, mate. It keeps the colour. Now, we do have a massive show. And before I introduce our special guest, I'm going to just quickly talk about the key things and the topics we're going to go through today. So, one, we want to talk about software. And I know, the way we operate as a business has changed. Yeah. And look, I saw John McAfee passed away only this morning in the US. And, I don't think years and years ago, when we first had computers and the old antivirus software, McAfee software had to be in there. So we're going to talk about software. We're going to talk about cloud accounting. I think there's so many different apps out there and stacks out there. We're going to go into a bit of detail about that.
I've recently learnt what a stack is.
Not just a fall on your bike.
No, look, you're not wrong. This comes up to our 24th year in business, Janso. And I think back to the halcyon days when we first started, we used a bit of software. Malcolm might remember this. It was called Teletax, right? Oh. And Teletax, I think it was like maybe $200 a year. Right? And my brother burnt Microsoft Office for us, and we won't tell Malcolm, we won't tell Mr. Gates about that. But so we had Teletax, and we had the Microsoft Office suite of products, right? Yep. You fast forward to today, and particularly those firms that are multidisciplinary practices. Yeah. So we have a financial planning arm, we have a lending advisory arm, we have obviously our business advisory and our accounting arm, and in that we do self-managed super funds. We use a different bit of software there. Yep. We have a practice management tool to run our business, and that one client who might touch us 5 times in our organisation. God forbid they change address, right? It's the hardest job we have to do at work, right?
100%. Yeah.
No. So seriously, that's one of the big reasons why I'm excited to have Malcolm here, is to talk about, get his view. I mean, he's been in tech for a long time, knows a shit ton more than you and I do, and just to get a real good understanding of what should the landscape look like? Because the challenge is, PJ, as your business, as you get longer and longer and longer in your business, I mean, I think about when we first started, we had like 10 clients, right? So if one of your 10 clients changes address, gets married, sets up another business, it's pretty easy. But as the tail gets longer and longer and longer and longer, and look, I don't know, I think we might have 2,500 groups of clients now, I think. We might lodge 7,500 tax returns.
That's a lot.
Yeah, one change of address, and it's a big challenge. So
Agree.
keen to talk about, the add-ons and what's going on there.
100%. I also want to touch on things like artificial intelligence. AI's been around it's been an acronym for a while now, but what is going on, what changes could affect the industry that you're in? We're just about to start a new financial year. And then I want to look at the next, what does the future look like in terms of tech? I think there's quite a bit of confusion out there as well with the amount of things that are out there, what we need. I'm going to ask you a particular question with regards to if you were going to start a new firm from 1 July, what would it look like? What applications would you require? I'm going to ask Malcolm the same thing so we can ideally provide our viewers a little bit of education around every 12 months, whether we review what we have, is it of value, or we just paying a subscription for no reason? How do you work out whether problem, solution? So we'll come to all of that, which is going to be great. Let's introduce our special guest. Malcolm Ebb, welcome.
Paul, Jason, glad to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Welcome to the offices. Welcome to
very salubrious, I've got to say.
Road.
It's actually nice to get out of the home.
It is, isn't it?
We come out of lockdown tonight again, or mass,
Less
whatever it is.
restrictions. Very true.
So,
as Sydney and Queensland have more cases, so.
Yep. But it is nice to be here, and I've been watching your series with great interest, and hopefully you'll be kind to me today.
Well, I'm usually the nice one. I can't guarantee what he can do, though.
Yeah, not sure about
That's
that.
right.
So let's start with that. Look, we've got a lot to get through over the next 50 minutes or so. So, actually, just before I get to that, to everyone listening, just please, I've got the iPad here, so if you've got questions, please use the Q&A bar. I'm sure there'll be a number of different questions, not just from Jason and I. So if you've got questions at the bottom of your Zoom screen there, please type in some questions. I'll be moderating that as we go. So please let me know.
The more interactive it is, the better it is for everyone.
100%.
Absolutely, yeah.
100%. It's not just about you and me.
No, it's a lot about you.
You sure?
Yeah. Very quiet about the Carlton Footy Club today, but anyway, let's talk about Malcolm.
Yeah, okay. Mate, we might just, let's start with, no, let's not start with footy. Let's start with you. So to our viewers that may not know anything about you and FeeSynergy, I know you've been around the traps for 20 odd years. You started FeeSynergy. Maybe give us a little bit of an idea of you and your background.
Well, I actually came to Melbourne in 1995 via Sydney and Adelaide, so that's why I support Carlton.
That was a good premiership year.
It's been all downhill since then. But so I had a 24-year career in the insurance and finance industries before moving into software. I think it was in the year 2000 or something. But I was approached by a director of an accountant for that matter of a software company. Said, do you want to come and run this software company? Told me a couple hundred people. I said, no, I don't know anything about software. I said, no, that's perfect. That's the right answer. So we're not looking to hire a program. We're looking to hire someone that can actually run a business. So I think that's how I fell into software, 20 odd years ago, and I spent 6 years, very challenging years in that space. Let me say, payroll software is not for the faint-hearted.
No.
When you've got unionised workforces and that you're paying, you don't want to be making mistakes. So you've got to stay off the front page of the Age.
Yes.
But it was a really interesting time, and thoroughly enjoyed it. But I actually left that software company to set up FeeSynergy. So whilst my involvement in the accounting industry goes back to the late 1990s, and when I was at GE Capital, Mickey Simonovsky, my business partner, and I actually created the first generation of the fee funding product that a lot of the industry would know about.
Okay.
So 2000 and whatever that was, 2006 or 5, we decided we'd set up business together and offer a fee funding product to the accounting and legal markets. And Mickey was always smarter than me. He was the one. I was the one who left his well-paid job to set up the company. Zero clients, no money, but
done that.
as you do.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was the start of our business, and we spent 4.5 years, I think, in the lounge room, starting up the business. And
Malcolm, before we jump into the other stuff that PJ wants to talk about, I think it'd be remiss of us not to quickly touch on FeeSynergy.
Yep.
And I just want to disclose that we're a client of your firm. But I just think there's one pertinent factor that often gets glazed over, and that is debtors in accounting firms. And don't look at me with a wry smile, PJ. No. And this is not an ad for Malcolm's business, but cash flow is so important in our practices, particularly when we've got such a huge labour cost, followed by our rent and then our IT subscription, right? But that makes up 45%, 50% of our spend. And so, we don't carry stock and all that sort of stuff, but we do carry a lot in debtors and in WIP. Yeah. But in today's day and age, 2021, June 2021, there actually should be really no reason why you should have anyone outside your trading terms, particularly if you've got access to bits of applications like FeeSynergy. And it's really, I think it's important, and I'm not the guru of everything, there's no doubt about that, but I just want to share this bit of, it's got to do with the vernacular and how you engage your customer. And when you talk to your customer and say, oh, look, this is a fee for our service, it's going to be $12,000, $8,000, $500, whatever it is, this is what we plan to do, we're going to get it done by this time, and our trading terms are 14 days. Then when you issue the invoice, they've got three options: pay now, pay credit card, BPay, or FeeSynergy. So I can't finance your debt, right? But this guy will. So how do you want to pay? Just pay us in 14 days. If you can't, if cash flow doesn't permit, we've done you a favour by engaging with a funder that can help cash flow you. Yep. So I just wanted to say that. A lot of people aren't aware of that. And the last thing you want to do is spruik that from your mouth. Now, I may have got some of that wrong, but in essence...
Well, that's why we started the industry 20-something years ago. We looked at, we're actually running the insurance premium funding business for GE, which is a huge business, very mature industry. But we thought, what else can we help businesses with? And said, let's grab a P&L and run down from A to Z and see what pops up as something we might be able to help with. We got to A. Comment to all P&Ls, accounting fees. So that's where we really started.
That's what us accountants do when we pick up a file from another accountant. The first thing we look at their income statement. We go down, oh, they paid 18 grand accounting fees last year.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
But I think today, look, we've moved from just being a pure financier to being really a fintech, but heavy focus on the technology piece. So the data management software that we have, which is widely known to the market across Australia and New Zealand, FeeSynergy Collect, that's transforming.
So that's the automated collection of the debts and all that sort of stuff. You put it in the system and away they go.
Fully integrated with the PM systems. Yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful bit of kit. And that's just me, speak to our clients. Yeah. So that's really revolutionising what's happening in accounting firms. But we're also doing that in the legal space. So we work with a lot of legal firms and we integrate with their one or two of the big PM systems in the legal space. So, but so here we are today, 14 years later. And my wife still calls my last job my last real job. Oh, yeah. But anyway, self-employment has its challenges, guys, as you well know. So true. But it is a lot of fun.
Let's get into software. So let's talk about software. It's changed the way that we operate. Since I was a young fella, and I don't even know if we had computers when I first started working. Are you older than me? I think you are, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
But how's it changed the way, let's say the last 20 years, it's just changed the way we operate, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think I remember when I had a laptop, I think it was a Toshiba with an orange screen. It had less power than my first Nokia phone. Yeah. So, but look, clearly computers are changing, and I think we're going to be talking a bit about the cloud. I mean, that's really the big game changer. I think that the cloud discussion started in the late 1990s anyway. So I think NetSuite or one of those products was cloud-based, but the conversation has really shifted in the last 10 to 15 years. I think was formed 15 years ago, and I think that's a lot of marketing dollars went into awareness amongst small business about I guess cloud technology. But I think that nowadays you've got a firm can set up a firm can set up an accounting firm or any other business with not a lot of spend on good tech.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good tech out there, and you just got to find the ones that are the right fit for your business. Technology is there to serve the business, not the other way around. So you start with what are we in, what are we offering, and then go and match your technology to that.
The problem is, Malcolm, it's a double-edged sword, I see. It's great for the business, and it's great to help, create efficiencies and streamline your practice. But there's an inherent danger in that one of your key team members can just pick up and start a practice around the corner from home. Probably about 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago, one of our key guys was contemplating leaving our organisation, and we said to him, we had some conversations with him around, why would you set up your own practice, get a lease, get a receptionist, get some support team members? Why wouldn't you just buy a percentage of our business and have a business within a business, right? And we did the numbers purely mathematical on how much income he would earn, and so it was sort of a no-brainer for him. He then made the decision, said, "Yeah, look, guys, I want to be part of something else."
Yeah.
But today you can with Xero, which is, and I'm not a Xero advocate, although we're platinum partners of Xero. Whether it's you go out with Xero, you can tack on a VGL in the cloud. And a few other things, and you're away.
Yes.
You're away. You got a laptop, you're away. You don't need, you can get a VA, a virtual assistant overseas, and you're away. You don't need an office premises. And the great proactive accountants are always on site with their clients, so you don't even have to bring anyone to your premises. And there's an inherent danger for us that are in principles to say, well, gee, we could lose our key guys and they could just start from home. Because we're all used to it now, ever since some lunatic bit into a bat and coughed on someone, and then we're all locked down. So I think it would be remiss of us not to discuss that piece too, PJ.
Because it's about protecting that and probably risk mitigation of that, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it goes to the strength of the relationship with the clients. I mean, if you've got a firm like you do, Jason, I mean, hopefully you've got a lot of people, and it should be multi-level relationships in the firm, because that's a protective measure in itself. I mean, if you only know one person and that person leaves, well, and that's true of pretty much any business, certainly any professional service organisation. If the relationship's limited to one person, and so ring fence your clients, but have multiple relationships with them. I think having a multi-services in the firm, the more products and services your clients are using, well, obviously you've got more people, the harder it is to leave. So pretty basic sort of stuff.
And it goes in line with, a couple of shows ago when we were talking about growth. And sometimes, those firms that are a little bit smaller, the old stuck in the desert, I think was the analogy that you gave. It's a difficult one to navigate through, as into when you start releasing that relationship and bringing another person in. You guys would have had to have done it,
Yeah, absolutely.
Since when you guys started up, when we first met, to what you are today. Is there a secret around it?
I think Malcolm touched on it. I think having multiple touch points within the organisation, I think that's very important. And we have layers with our business, despite the fact that we try to be pretty flat. We have director, associate director, senior manager, supervisor, accountant, grad. Right. And what we do is we're pretty big on when we first engage with the customer or the client, letting them know that we want them to have at least 4 contact points within our organisation. Then when a client also experiences our financial planning experience or our lending experience, they'll have a touch point in those 2 parts of our business. So typically a client would engage with 6 team members in our organisation.
Wow.
And then we deliberately rotate team members off a file onto another file, A, to give the team member experience on working on a different type of file, and also experience working with a different manager or a different partner, but also B, to get the client used to having different team members work on their file. So that what we want is we want the client to become loyal to the brand, the practice, as opposed to loyal to the team member.
Exactly.
And we don't get it right all the time. Let's be honest. I think the other point that I wanted to touch on with Malcolm was, throughout our growth at the practice, we've had various different focal points in our organisation that are non-chargeable focal points. So what do I mean by that? Is at one stage we had an IT guy, an in-house IT guy, to help us navigate the myriad of IT, right? And whether that be, managing our server or, bringing new users on or helping us integrate the software. Then we had a marketing guy that helped us with our marketing, and then we had a P&C or HR woman that helped us with that. And now we have a sort of a practice manager, Dennis, who it takes the strategy from the board and executes it.
Yep.
The point I wanted to raise, and I've done this in not a bad long-winded way, PJ, to be honest with you, sometimes people would argue that's my strength, but no longer is there a place for the IT guy. What I mean by that is we need to know. If you look at, software nowadays, whether it's apps, whether it's kids on their PlayStation, all that sort of stuff, there's no instructions. People just get on and freaking learn it, Whereas our vintage, those that are a bit, I'm getting close to 50 now. We used to, can someone show me where's the instruction manual? Right, but you buy a new smart TV, you just figure around with it and eventually it works. And that's sort of where we're at now in today's day. You download an app on your phone and you just got to work.
Correct.
So I think there's a mindset shift that we have to be nimble and just to work through things, get it wrong and see how it works. I don't know. What's your take on that, Malcolm?
You're right, for sure. And I think that you need to obviously have good IT
support services.
Support services.
Yeah.
Whether you have them in a house or not. But I think the days of having someone who can manage your passwords and different things, fix a photocopier, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But you'll find in any firm, if you've got the young ones, I call them young ones because I call you guys the young ones as well. I've got to say, but they're so tech savvy, and seriously, they can get anything working. Where you really need good technical support is in the area of security in your firm.
Yeah.
The rest of it, a lot of it you can't break, right? But security, there's no, you don't take shortcuts with security in a firm. So, so a lot of, the IT person just don't assume that the IT person who wears that hat is going to be the one who's going to keep you off the, keep you operating if something happens. And the world we live in now, it's just getting more and more fraught with risk. So, don't underspend in the area of security.
Yeah, we actually did a topic on that just out on our last show. One of the things that you mentioned early doors in this conversation was about Xero, and they really broke ground.
Well, I'm surprised you said sort of 15 years. It doesn't seem like 15 years.
Yeah.
I know.
And you look, we were talking off air about Xero and the amount of add-ons or apps with Xero. Were you saying it was in the vicinity of like 800 now?
Yeah, 800 and counting. I think the last update I saw was 800. So, and it was 600 probably this time last year. So there's a lot out there, a lot of apps, a lot of add-ons in that marketplace. So I don't know how people work their way through it, but
That's the confusing part.
it is confusing.
When you look at, I don't know, you've only got to go to a XeroCon, fantastic conferences, and the amount of partners that are there, and I think certainly with the amount of firms we work with and deal with, there is always that layer of confusion. People always say, oh, Peter, hey, PJ, you've got knowledge in this sector. What would you recommend we do? And I'm going to get to that in a second. But when we are talking about cloud accounting, I think that's the challenge that we continually face because it is 800 add-ons. How does a firm navigate through that?
Yeah, I know. I reckon I know about 5 of them tops.
If that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great thing. So let's get into that for a second because I think the cloud accounting space has been fantastic and it's allowed, whether Xero has led it, MyOb or APS Reckon or all great software companies, certainly in our space.
Yep.
It is the ability to add those on to operate your business. All of our firms are out there that are operating their firms, and yours, Jason, in particular. It's probably a good one to go into. While we may reflect and have a look at the different app stacks we've got, if we had to reflect on that and say, right, you're starting a new firm from next Thursday, I think it is, 1st July, what does it look like? What are the essential things that we require?
I think the first thing that we would address in our organisation. So, truth be told, we're looking at our practice management software at the moment, and we're looking at making a change. Now, when we picked the software, the practice management software that we use today, what we did was we said, what sort of software are we looking for in our organisation, and what's pertinent to us? Now, there's a couple of key bits of criteria. The first is that we're a multidisciplinary firm, right? So we provide wealth management, we provide lending advisory, and we provide business advisory and personal and self-managed fund tax, right? So we needed some software, practice management software that cut across those four arms of our business. And that was important to us because despite the fact that in each individual business unit, it's a client it's a client to the firm.
Yes.
So we wanted to get an understanding and look across our clients and see, okay, client Malcolm Ebb, for example, how much is he spending with us in business advisory? How much of it is he spending in lending? How much is he spending with his self-managed super fund and wealth management? Because the client, for example, we've got an arm of our business called Personal Wealth Advisory Tax. So we might have a client that might spend $1,000 a year with us getting their tax returns done, their individual tax returns done, which, with respect, is not a big spend in our organisation, and one would argue is not an A client, right? However, if they cut across to our wealth management arm, and they're a risk insurance client, and they're a wealth creation client, and they've got $1 million in debt and all that sort of stuff, all of a sudden, that $1,000 client turns into a $15,000, $16,000 client, and is very valuable over here and not as valuable over here.
Yes.
So we picked some software that could give us a global view of our business. And it was revolutionary, and we could run workflow, and running our workflow and the pipe and production in our business was very important. You know, we turn over, $12 million a year. So that our workflow and our production pipe's really important to us. Yeah. But today, the software that we have chosen is not cloud-based. Right. It's in part cloud-based, it's a bit clunky, and it's causing issues with other software that it integrates with.
And I would have thought that was a part of the challenge, because you're right, when you're multidisciplinary, is there something that goes across, or do you need to get the best for that, and the best for that, and the best for that?
The firms that I've spoken to, and I'll reach to Malcolm because he is the expert, but I've spoken to firms that are bigger than ours. We're like a big small business. We get 60 team members, 50 in Melbourne and 10 in Sydney. So we're like a big small business, right? So you go, there's probably another layer, and then the layer above that's the second tier. So it might be the big 4, 6, or however, and then the second tier, then there's those big chunky 100+ firms, and then there's us, right? And some of those other firms have actually developed their own software that sucks all the information out into their own type dashboard. Because as far as I can see, there's nothing out there.
Yeah, they've been forced to do it.
They've been forced to, and it costs hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I ain't in the business of spending that sort of money. And my partner, Robbie, definitely not spending that sort of money, right? So we I guess what we have to make good with what exists. The other important aspect is this landscape is changing so quickly.
Yes.
Right? What was, first class and market leading 18 months ago, mate, it's out of date today. So you've got to be nimble, you've got to be quick. And I think the other important piece when we talk about practice management, it's the integrity of the data that goes in there.
Yeah, it should be, in my view, it should be the source of truth.
Yeah.
That's always been the case. Some others might argue that not necessarily. There's some big advocates for CRM being the lead app, but I've got to say, practice management system is the heart and soul of the business, and everything hangs off it. So, if you want to have, there's different terms around the industry, but integration, things that talk to your PM system is what you want at the end of the day.
PJ, I'd be keen to hear from some of our listeners out there who want to share with us what PM system they use. Do they use a CRM? Because that's one of the questions that we had in our organisation was, do we pick up a Salesforce or something like that that's market leading across the world? Do we use that to run our comms with our customers, and we communicate via our CRM, and then take it from there and drop it into the practice management? I don't know.
And that's the challenge there is, because you've got CRM, you've got document management.
Yeah, that's the other point, PJ.
Document management sometimes is more important, because where does the flow of the documents go, and how do they talk to each other, especially with all the different
absolutely.
codes out there,
there's business critical applications in your stack.
Let's talk about that.
You've got PM, you've got a tax.
Yeah.
If you've got a separate tax, you've got tax, you've got
Ledger system.
Practice ledgers. You've got FeeSynergy data management solutions.
Document storage.
You're going to have document storage, but also, and this has really come to its own is in terms of being business critical, is now the video conferencing facilities, Zoom, MS Teams, whatever. They are now business critical. They weren't 12 months ago, but they are now. So when you look at your stack, you think, well, what is it? I mean, I wasn't going to name names today in terms of software and that because we work with pretty much everyone, but I'm a big fan in the terms of the CRM space. Most accounting firms I know don't have a CRM system.
No,
you're right.
And there's one that's pretty much free, that's brilliant, called HubSpot.
Yeah.
I mean, we use it.
HubSpot.
We use it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And
I think the real estate agents use it, do they?
a lot, it's hundreds of millions of users.
Again,
I think
the
it's
question and probably the answer, sorry, not the question you need to ask yourself to get the answer, is what are you using it for? Because I think you can go to something like a Salesforce, and Salesforce is the best of the best for sales. There's a reason why it's called Salesforce.
Yeah.
So if you're running sales teams and you need sales data, absolutely. If you're looking to manage deals, relationships, stages, I agree. The marketing element of it is free.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're looking at something for HubSpot, it's cloud integrated, it's very good.
I mean, that's a great introduction to, the world of CRM. And there's some really sophisticated stuff out there, of course, but it's a good one. And I think that being integrated is the key. And I think when we talk about integrations, we look at all the different add-ons or whatever that's out there, and there's some really great stuff out there.
Can I just go a bit deeper on this? Is that okay? And this may be some selfish questions as I'm taking notes as we rebuild our practice. No, but okay, so there's two parts to it, right? There's the practicality of it, right? So if you are an accounting practice predominantly, which is what we are, and most people on the call are, we've got some obligations. We've got a lodgement program. We've got to lodge our tax returns, right? We've got clients that so some people are late lodgers and all that sort of stuff. So we've got to manage our lodgement program to get to May 15 to get our 85%. Now, that's been, shot in the foot as a result of COVID and all that sort of stuff. But putting that aside, so we've got a lodgement program we've got to deal with. We've got FBT obligations we've got to deal with. We've got ASIC obligations we've got to deal with, right? We've got tax planning obligations that we should be dealing with. We've got trust distribution minutes that we should be dealing with, and a few other things, right? Also, we've got a team of a workforce that we've got to ensure that we fill their capacity. Yeah. So we've got to manage our workforce to make sure we've got enough work in the pipe to get so that I can justify these people's wages. Yep. I've also got to leave a little bit of a gap for growth because not everything happens this year that happened last year. So we've got to leave a little bit of flex in there. So this HubSpot that you're talking about, does that manage that, or does all that manage is the comms that you have with your customer? It's
mainly from a sales, but you have all your clients. We've got every client, prospect, anyone we ever spoke to in there. So if we want to do marketing campaigns, mail outs, whatever. But I think one of the things that a lot of firms struggle with, probably 15 months ago, when Melbourne went into lockdown in March the 16th, I think we closed the door. Was communicating to your clients. So we put out communications, COVID updates. Didn't want to swamp our clients, so they needed to know what we were doing. As all accounts, I've got heaps of stuff from all the different accounting firms that I've sort of subscribed to, and a lot. You wonder. There's often a big discussion in the firm saying, "Well, our data's not good. We need to clean up our data." And I think that really was the test for a lot of firms. They said, "Well, we've got to communicate with our clients." Typically, you're pulling the client information, mass emails or whatever out of their PM system, whatever. But paying attention to quality of data is something that firms must do. Absolutely. And I think there's been a lesson learnt probably 12 months ago about how do we communicate effectively to all the right people and let them know what we're doing, that we're open for business or whatever it is.
So that's a great thing of what that does. It's a marketing tool. It's a communication tool while all the data is stored in the one CRM, I suppose.
And it's one thing that us accountants do very poorly is the way we communicate. We've got to get better at that. And then there's the balance, as you mentioned, Malcolm, of too much information, not enough information, all that sort of stuff. It's quite a challenge. Look, what about the point we were talking about a bit earlier? If, like for example, and I'm happy to name names because I don't, we use BGL for our ASIC obligations. We use Simple Fund for our super funds. We have Zero Ledger and Zero Tax. We have a practice management bit of software. We use Flex for our lending deals, and we use Xplan for our financial planning. What happens when someone changes address? Like it's how do we deal with that? What do we do? Is there anything? Have you found any software that sucks it all up and then pushes it all back down?
I can't really speak with authority on that, but I'd say it's a common problem. And I know there are some applications out there that try and bring all that together, but I think it comes down to what are your core systems and do they talk to each other? That's the starting point.
Yeah.
I mean, if they do that, document management, your
What do
PM.
they call it? Open, what's it called, Peter? Open ADIs or
Open APIs.
API. There you go, ADI. Yeah. Paul was mentioning something off the top and spoke about the rise of AI, right? And I instantly think about that movie with that actor. It's just escaped me.
Will Smith.
Will Smith, right? And yeah, let's not go down that path. But one of the things that a lot of firms are doing, there's currently it's no secret there's a labour shortage in the accounting industry in Australia, right? And a lot of firms are moving towards outsourcing as a solution or offshoring labour because you just can't get the labour in the country. Some talks that I've seen, and Macquarie, we bank with Macquarie Bank, and they have said a lot to us about the rise of AI, and a lot of coding's going to get done automatically for you by bots and all that sort of stuff. What's your thoughts and what's your position on that, and what have you seen?
Yeah, well, thanks for dropping me in that one because you told me the other day that I know all about AI. So you thought of Will Smith and I think iRobot or whatever. Yeah, I thought of HAL in 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah, right.
R.C. Clarke, that still freaks me out.
Yeah.
Dave, anyone who's seen the film or read the books will know exactly what I'm talking about. But look, AI, it's been around a long time. I mean, this is my boning up. Alan Turing from the Enigma code in the World War II was credited as being the father of AI. So it does go back a long way. And I think in the 50s, that's when it started. Scientists and engineers were getting together and looking at what they could do. But in the world of accounting, it's really interesting. I think AI it's probably a misunderstood term.
Yeah.
I think you can get mixed up with data analytics, data science, and all that sort of stuff. But AI is a very complex area from what I've read in the last 48 hours. It's when I look at the accounting industry, I think that it's probably something that is not a thing for a lot of accounting firms. Like it comes up at accounting conferences and all that sort of stuff. AI, and I think there's a place for it. But I think the big four and maybe the big eight or whatever, they would be all over it because the area that strikes me as being one that's absolutely ripe for AI is in the audit area. And if you're auditing big companies with masses of data, AI comes into its own, one would think, to look for patterns and all sorts of things in a business if you're doing an audit. So I would imagine that your PwCs and your Deloittes and all those would be all over that. And the big consulting companies, your Accentures and others.
I guess for small practices like ours, the most that we tap into AI is having bank rules in Xero, where you can sort of just code bank charges, rent, car lease payments and all that sort of stuff. You can just put a bank rule in and just automatically code it. That's about as advanced as we get.
Has anyone else in the world, we're Australia, a little island, is anyone else in the US leading AI in the tax space or in the legal space?
Well, I mean, if you Google all the AI in accounting, I mean, all the major vendors are doing something, dabbling in AI, as they should, because you think about it, an MIB or some of that, masses of data. And how do you use that to create process efficiencies and detect fraud or whatever it might be? I'm sure the ATO and the likes and government organisations would have massive AI programs to find those little things that aren't quite right. I think we talk about the practical world of the accounting industry, where thousands and thousands of suburban practices, rural practices. You've got a quite large firm by comparison to most of the industry. It's a term, but it's probably not, people haven't turned their mind to it.
Yes.
Well, how can we, and by the way, I mean, not many accounting firms I know could afford to employ, people that have got, applied, PhDs in applied maths, whatever it is. I mean, it's a very specialist area.
I think the important thing, Malcolm, is to make mention that it's not the be all and end all. It's not the solution for everything. It's just an adjunct, or software. I think plays a real critical role. But at the end of the day, people do business with people, and it's about how you engage. I still keep coming down to how you engage with your customer and how you engage with the client, and speak in a language that they understand, and using software to drive efficiencies in your business.
Correct.
Because I go back to the current labour shortage that exists. What's happening is there's been a push in labour cost, and people are getting paid a little bit overs at the moment. Okay. So therefore, if we want to maintain our margins, and if we put our business owner's hat on, and we want to maintain the margin for shareholder, or the profit distribution, or however you run your practice, I think you've got to look to drive efficiencies within your organisation and tap into the software. The other point that you raised is the integrity of the data that goes into your database is so important.
Oh, it's critical. I think that people get carried away with these great stacks, tech stacks. I love looking at it. People say, "Oh, how many you got in your tech stack?" "Oh, I got 20, I got 10, whatever it is." You say, "Well,
how big's your stack?"
Well, big is not always best, right?
Yeah,
Mine's bigger than yours is not necessarily the right approach to have. I think that people do get carried away and think, "Well, I've got all this stuff," but is that the IT person getting all excited about it, or is it there to serve the business?
And when also, with respect to software companies, of which you own one, is that $19.99 a month here and $25 a month there, and all that per user and all that sort of stuff. Those costs add up, and I mean, I'm talking to accountants here, so we're all across the numbers. But even if it's not just accounting practices. It's actually a way of life, PJ. So a lot of people, Foxtel was the be all and end all, right? And so, you had your movies, entertainment, your sport, and all the other various channels that you subscribe to, Paul. But then that's been then replaced with Netflix and Stan and Amazon and KO and Spotify. And then all of a sudden you go, "Oh, look, I can get $19.99 a month. You got 7 different apps.
Correct.
Next minute you pay more than Foxtel." So you've got to be careful. I think that's important. And I think if you look at when your firm grows and you have more team members, like Microsoft 365 is a per user, and now every bit of software that we're talking about is per user, per user,
Correct.
per user.
Yep.
It's the model, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is absolutely something that firms are waking up to.
Yeah.
All these apps, monthly, SaaS, monthly subscriptions, blah, they all add up. Suddenly they're looking at, well, hang on, our spend's just gone through the roof. I mean, do we actually need all this stuff?
That's
Is there a better way to do it? I mean, you look at the world of Microsoft and Google, the amount of stuff that they've got that's free, we may as well call it free, for businesses is pretty amazing. But it's not just the subscription costs that you got to look for as well. I mean, a lot of the apps might have transactional costs attached to them.
All right.
Credit card, merchant fees, you've got direct debit fees, you've got fees for this, fees for that. That can actually add up to more than what the subscription cost is. Yeah. And I think when people are buying these things, you've got to look at it, total cost of ownership. That's what you need to be looking at. Yeah. Well, how much is it going to cost for me to have a whatever?
Yes.
And I think we see that, and it's a common thing we hear saying, well, why is FeeSynergy, plug another shameless plug for FeeSynergy, why can FeeSynergy do a direct debit for 30 cents? Why does it cost north of $1 with someone else for the same thing? So, well, our business model is not based around transactional costs, because we do that, they add up. And that's the thing that people, are starting to wake up to is, geez, the actual cost of these things goes beyond just the subscription costs. Take that, that's something to take on board for sure.
Malcolm, what's your position on having an on-premise server versus cloud-based server? Can I have some commentary around that?
Cloud's fantastic, but the vast majority of accounting firms in Australia are on-premise. Mm-hmm. In fact, the partners, the old guys like me, the baby boomers they got this beautiful cabinet, the rack with the glass door. Yeah. very proud of that.
Yeah. Heaps is a wine rack. Yeah.
Do you still have that?
I'm not sure. No, we do. I'm being smart. I'm being facetious.
I reckon you would,
No, I do. No, I'm getting into the IT stuff at work. We still have a on-premise server because of the practice management software we use and the document storage.
Yep.
Put the tape in to do the backup?
I used to tell the coppers that when I was driving to work during lockdown, I'm going to have to change the backup date. But so currently we still have a server in our office
Yeah, of course
that serves the function of our backup, document storage, and our practice management software is on premise.
Yep.
We are now in the process of moving away from that and looking at having everything fully in the cloud. Right?
Yes. Well, as I said, the majority of the accounting industry are still on premise.
Yes.
Now, they're gradually moving to cloud, and obviously all the vendors are bringing out cloud solutions for PM. That's really the world we live in, is the PM space. But there's so many good cloud applications that talk to the PM system that it's a gradual move into the cloud, if you like. And I think some of the PM vendors that we partner with, we've got fully supported APIs and all that stuff. So we partner with them because they say, well, what you do is important. You're in the cloud, so our clients now, by default, have got part of their solution, in the cloud.
So there's an inherent danger, Malcolm, is that our goodwill, our IP, is our database.
Yeah, correct.
Our clients,
absolutely.
Right? Now, so we approach it with a bit of trepidation because we take our entire database and we put it in the cloud in someone else's server somewhere. I don't even know where it is. What happens if that gets attacked? All our clients, that's what our IP is.
Because you can put more security measures around.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
You know.
there's some fundamentals.
Correct.
Where's the data centre it's housed in? Australia, tick.
Yeah.
Who is it? Amazon, whatever. One of the big ones. Tick. Security. Even though you don't necessarily rely on the security of the software vendor, they are obviously security conscious. But accounting firms should spend money in checking their own security.
Yeah,
so
that's what we spoke about
independent,
last month.
independent penetration testing.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for years. Costs us a bomb,
Yeah.
but we're a software company.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want you to feel secure using our software,
Yeah.
but you should get there's plenty of cyber security people out there. You pick the right mark. Make sure you choose people that actually are recommended to you by others that found them really good, and get it done once a year. Do a
And those
vulnerability
tests
check.
that the guy spoke about
Yeah,
last month as well, just
Just running what happens if you throw a little bomb out there and you find out what actually how people react to it.
Well, a lot of it, a lot of the problems accounting firms have are through, email.
That's what we spoke
phishing
about last
and
month. It's almost
stuff
like
like
you
that.
watched it.
Basic sort of stuff. But we all get caught out. They're very clever.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of security, and I said it before, you can't overspend on security because we all want to sleep at night. I'm a business owner. You're a business owner. Mick and I like to sleep at night, not having to worry about security. And in fact, we're right in the middle of our regular pen testing at the moment. So there goes another few dollars.
Can I talk about, just to touch on, because I know it'll help our viewers as well, document management. I think whether you've got 365 or you've got Google, there are drives there, obviously, that you can put from a storage point of view. But that's where there's a lot of confusion as well in terms of document management systems. Is that something you've had experience with? And sort of both
Maybe I'll start,
Yeah.
and then Malcolm can come over the top if he likes. So there's document storage. So that is when we build our file. When we build our, the backup to our general ledger and the backup to our set of accounts and all that sort of stuff. So document storage. Then there's the comms that we have. So it's I look at it like the old arch lever file, right? So you got permanent, you got current, you got all, your tax, your ledger, and all that sort of stuff. So we built that in there. And someone like me, I'm an oversaver. So I save every bit of correspondence, and I cause challenges when people are then going looking for stuff because I keep saving every email that's gone in there. So there's some protocols that need to exist around what gets saved. I think that's important. Then there's other stuff that we're like currently, because we've got a server on premise where we have our intranet, we have our standard whether we're going to do an ACA calc or whether we're going to do, long service leave and how you apply for all those standard things. They currently sit on a server. Now, with the move to, complete cloud world, we're investigating things like SharePoint, for example, which is where we can have a B drive or a Z drive or whatever drive that you want. Where you go for your HR stuff, that's here. When you go for your policies and procedures, that's there, and all that sort of stuff. So that's sort of what we're looking to move towards, because it becomes a little bit cumbersome when our cloud-based software is interacting with the server, right? So we've been told by our IT guys, and we've got to trust what they're saying, that causes some challenges for us. So we want it to be nice and smooth. So whether I'm operating from the lounge room in Essendon or the office at Parkville or Hawthorn or wherever you live, that it's quite a seamless approach.
Yeah, we moved to SharePoint last year.
Right.
Remote working, which we're used to anyway.
Yeah.
But and we found that early in the piece we end up having a lot of drop boxes, and the jury's out about the security on those, but the cost of them, they actually add up. But SharePoint is a really good solution for us anyway.
Yeah. When I first started looking at it, I thought it was a way to manage your share portfolio, but it's not that big, boy. It's the sharing.
365. It's part of 365. So let's move a little bit. What does the future look like? We've been dominated. We spoke about 800 add-ons that Xero's got. Most firms have either moved to Xero or XPM or. What does the future look like?
I think it's pretty exciting. I think that because we work with many of the PM vendors, we actually get to hear about what they're doing, and it's a race. The race is on. I think I've come from the old school. I'm talking about the old school, where big is you gravitate to the biggest players. I mean, in the GE world, you only dealt with number one or two. Forget the rest. Now, I'm not saying that the case in the accounting software industry, but with size comes good investment. Are they big enough to invest in their products?
Yeah.
Are they there to they're going to support you if there's problems and all that sort of stuff? So I think that the main practice, again, the practice management vendors, which typically are those who produce accounting packages for small business, other than Intuit QuickBooks, of course, which is huge. But I can see that there's plenty of choice out there, and I'm not here to say cloud's better. I think you can have a combination of things, whatever works for your firm.
I think that's the most important
really is.
point. Yeah.
And another thing to consider is how many people out there, in the community, if you're looking for a new practice manager or whatever else, if they've got expertise in MYOB or CCH or Xero or whatever it is, and that could be an attractor too. So it's the bigger systems. You'll have more people, more experienced users out there that you can hire from.
Yeah.
I mean, so the new is good sometimes, but it's a bit niche then if it's new. Wait till there's more more people on it.
And are you a fan of the external? Again, we spoke about setting up a firm from scratch. The external person coming in and having a look at what's going to suit the firm moving forward, and then providing an independent.
Yeah, I think the independent's the word, Paul. Absolutely there, because I think that there's plenty of consultants out there who can come and advise you on what you should have in your practice, and I know a number of them, and they're good. They're really good. I think. But you need to do your own homework, though, and why not go talk to another accounting firm? I mean, you all know each other.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons why we've got this
Tax
show.
groups, there's so many different.
What do you
things.
use? What do you find good?
100%.
The show is all about, one of the things that I love about our industry is the abundance that exists in our industry and our willingness to share and help each other out. In the old days, and we've gone down this path because we used to be able to go to conferences, and conferences have been shut down for a while, and all that sort of stuff. And what we're trying to do as part of this show is how can we share ideas? With respect to you, you're not the leading expert in the industry, nor am I, and Janso's a long way down the list. I mean, but what we're trying to do is come together and say, hey, I've got an idea. This worked with our firm, and all the conferences that I've been to, and I do some of my best work there, Malcolm. That's where I've met you, but. It's just sharing ideas with other practitioners. I mean, it's also good to hear war stories when other people have got problems with debtors and problems with their team members and problems with clients. It sort of warms your heart a little bit to know that you're not on your own and you're not the only person dealing with the myriad of shit that goes on in our businesses. But, you know, if we can come up with ideas, like a mate of mine is a guy called Pete Laylaw, runs a business called the Blue Rock. And he's out there, I'm having lunch with him on Friday, right? And he's out there and he's a bit revolutionary and he, you know, some people think he's nuts. Oh, he's sort of nuts, but he's a good guy and he is a great sharer. And every time I go out to his business, he goes, Jace, look what we're doing here. Look at our website. Look at how we're engaging with our clients. And I think, you know, they've got an IT arm to their business. I mean, they're 3 times as big as us, you know. But he's got a view on the world and not everyone's going to agree with his view, and that's okay. But it works for him, it works for his client base, and it works for his team. And that's what we're trying to promote with our show.
Absolutely. I think that, I know Peter pretty well. That's a really interesting story. If you ever want to see a crazy website, just go to the Blue Rock, look at their website.
You know what the best thing about his business, I don't know if you know this, the name Blue Rock, where it comes from, he's a Carlton supporter, so the Blues, and he loves Dwayne Johnson, the Rock. So it's the Blue Rock, that's where he got his name from. It's outstanding. I hope Pete doesn't mind me sharing that. Bit about luck if I heard, considering I have. But
I think without, there's many good firms out there doing things. I think you play to your strengths as well. You know, Peter's, I think, moved aside to be the chief entrepreneur officer or something, as opposed to the CEO. Handed the reins to Bruce. But I think that one of the things that I always like about this industry, it's a conservative industry. But in that conservatism is a lot of trust and all that sort of stuff. But I think the people are very willing to give their time to you, and I think. So if I was starting up a new accounting firm or whatever it would be, or I just wanted some advice. What tech do they use? Or they're a similar business to me. What do they do? Pick up the phone. I think go and buy them a coffee.
I think the other point too is if you're starting a business or changing your business, it's not just pertinent to see what does my world look like today. Correct. But you've got to have some flex as to when you grow. And we didn't do that early doors. And so, you know, we weren't used to paying fees for software because we used Teletax, right? I don't even know, there's a lot of people that wouldn't even know what that is. And I didn't use it that often anyway.
Did it come with a pigeon?
No, I didn't know.
Sounds like something that comes with a pigeon.
I do remember it was on a floppy disk. I do remember that. You could be loaded up on the computer.
Now, there's just a couple of things. Jason Croston, another JC. Mate, thank you for your... I love how he's finished with this saying, sorry, I'm sure there is a question in there. This is big. So, mate, thank you. Look, if you do have questions, we're getting to the tail end. I wanted to touch on a couple of other things that Malcolm and I spoke about in our recent podcast on Talking Numbers, and it was around, the importance of building a powerful network. And I know you've done it, and we've spoken about it. I know you've done it, and with your profile to build the business that you've got today. So, but if you do have questions, thank you also to Alan and Mickey as well, who have been providing some fantastic chat online, which I can see in front of me here. I'm trying to work through whether Jason actually has a question here. There's a couple of question marks here, but I might go to this in a second, but I'm going to throw it back to you guys in the importance of building your businesses now. And we spoke about this, and the podcast was released only on Monday. So building a powerful network, and to all of our firms that are, again, trying to break through that, I don't know, the $500,000 or $600,000, or trying to get from the 5 million to the 10 million like you've done. The importance of that.
Look, I'll be so bold as to say, if without a network, my network and Mickey's network, FeeSynergy probably wouldn't exist today. I mean, I learned early in my life, so back in the 70s now, the importance of building a network. I was given some great advice. Build a network and nurture it. So what do you mean by that? Get to know a lot of people, talk to them. So I would go to the opening of the old proverbial, opening of Rombo. I go to every industry event, mingle. Didn't matter what. From a young guy, I was doing that. So, and then you stay in touch with people. I really like him. I like her. We might. So stay in touch, and you've got a good network when you can pick up the phone to someone you haven't seen for years.
Yes.
PJ, let's grab a coffee, and you just say yes without even wondering, without thinking, what's he want?
Yes.
Okay, so that's when you know you've got a good network. And it's interesting, the reason I said FeeSynergy may not be here today, I mean, we used when we decided we're going to start up this business, we road tested it with a bunch of accountants and software people that we knew, and I do mention this in the podcast, as you know, is that we got this idea. We're going to start a finance company. We want to embrace the technology that's used by accounting firms, being practice management systems. And I remember knocking on Craig Winkler's door, I think in 2005, and said, got this idea. He said, that's a great idea, Malcolm, but not for us.
Yeah.
We're in the shrink wrap, I think, to paraphrase him, accounting package stuff. But then I actually knew a fellow called Ian Ferrier. Remember the old Ferrier?
Yeah.
So Ian sat on a few boards and got to know him through another medium. And he said, "Oh, that's a great idea, Malcolm. Go and talk to Brian Armstrong at APS. Reckon APS." So so that was again. And Brian and I got to know each other, and he said, "That's a good idea." And after about 12 months, said, "We'll support you by putting our monthly facility into the APS product."
That's a good gift.
This is 14 years ago, 15 years ago, groundbreaking.
Yeah.
And we've got clients still who've got the stuff on their invoices. But the point I'm making is that you can have a network, in a network, work it, but also be respectful to people. If people reach out to you and ask, want to bend your ear or want to give them some time, make time for them.
That's the most important thing about networking.
You know?
It's not what you get out of it; it's what you put into it.
Yep.
Right. And I just, for my 2 cents worth, I got into this industry at 24 and went straight in as a partner. Had never done a tax return or built a set of accounts, and my partner Rob taught me everything I know. And so Rob, I remember Rob went in the early days. Rob said, "Just do what I say, wear what I swear, and drive the same car as me. Just do everything the way I do it." Right? And then we would network. And I remember the first time I went to a PAC, a Public Accountants Conference down in. The first one I went to was down at Cowes. They've been at Lawn ever since. And there's 300 accountants in the room going nuts. I go, what the hell is going on here? And for me, those early days, I just learnt from as many people as I could because I was a kid.
Yep.
And now, I'm a bit older, but I still learn from, I've got some great mates. The GPL conferences I used to go with you, Jenso. And then Rob Nixon's conference at Panalytics, and we love Rob Nixon, right? CPA conferences, Xerocon. There's many of these conferences you can get to talk to. Don't have your head right up your backside to think that you know everything, because we don't.
Oh.
But I might have a few ideas over here. Janso's got a few ideas over here, and you've got some ideas over there. Through the power of synergy, where the whole suddenly becomes greater than the sum of the parts. I think for mine, I'm catching up with a mate of mine next week who's looking at buying another practice, and he's reached out to me. He's the guy that got me into the industry and got me into PAC, and now 20 odd years later, I'm helping him out. Yeah. It's amazing how the circle of life goes on, and I think it's important that the more you give, the more it comes back to you.
So, and don't be afraid to ask for help or guidance or whatever. People are very generous and gracious, but I think in the podcast I made there was a sort of a parting word of advice to say, well, look, work your networks. Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram ain't your network.
No.
They're contacts.
Yeah.
Breaking bread with someone, having a beer, having a coffee.
And also, that's your bullshit world anyway. That's not your real world.
That's a network.
You never put up a garbage photo of yourself, when you in real life having conversation with people and being raw and who you are. That's the real part of
Stop
life.
putting up those gym ones in the gym. Now, I have found a question. Jason Croston.
Jason Croston.
Just been working through it, mate. It's been a while since we've caught up. So it's an interesting one as well. So bear with us. I know we're just going to run over time. So for everyone with us, please bear with us. Is there actually a need for practice management software, or is an integrated stack the best breed of apps a better solution? Now, there's an interesting one. I found it.
Well, that's a hard question to answer. I know, Jason, but I think that the answer is maybe, but I don't believe that myself. Okay, so I think that there's things that will be coming that the ERP systems. There's stuff in the US that I look at the legal industry in the US. They're miles ahead of legal here, whereas accounting in Australia's ahead of the US. So figure that out. But I think. So I'm not going to answer that question probably the way he wants me to answer that, but as a maybe, it's a possible.
But I think if everyone, it's a good one, because whether it's sort of your firm at the practice, whether it's SRJ, Walker Wayland, I think you've got to ask yourself the question. Because it's probably more relevant to the actual firm and where you're heading to what you need. So I think if you're having strategy sessions at the moment, end of financial year, starting a new financial year, what do we need moving forward, and start questioning that?
Oh, absolutely. I think every firm should be doing their business plan or their budgets, as I would call it, every year. And as part of that, say, 1 year out, 2 years out, 5 years out, what is our practice going to look like? What is the tech that we're going to need for it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I
agree with that.
Can it scale? Can it do all that sort of stuff? But
before having our strategy weekend, I just want to have a couple of weeks off, though. But yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I just know that this landscape is changing so quickly, Malcolm. It's changing so fast. And I think as long as we can think about what we need for today and what we need for tomorrow, and understand that we can't create a perfect world, we can't create utopia in our practice, but if we can drive efficiencies, and the integrity of our databases, I think, is so important. That's what we're looking to do in our organisation.
no, absolutely.
Good. If there are any other questions, please zip them through. Again, great chat. There's a few things going back and forth on the chat bar, which is fantastic. Questions? I'm happy to take questions. I know we've just gone over. It's 1:36, so we want to wrap up pretty soon. So if you've got any more questions for either Jason or for Malcolm, please put them through. Nothing else is coming through at the moment. But look, again, mate, this is what, like you said before, chewing the accounting fat when we sat down, and I still remember talking about networks. I still remember you yelling over Puckle Street at me one day. All I heard was, I had my kids with me, and he's gone, Janzo. All I heard was Janzo. It's like, kids are going, who's that?
Yeah.
Jason Cunningham. So,
that's Daddy's weird friend.
But you think about that, that's the power of what we created.
Well, that's right, because I didn't even know you moved back to Melbourne. So I think my parting point would be that the relevance of IT and the relevance of software is becoming more and more pertinent in the age that we're in. Everyone's got an email on their phone, so it's so relevant. So we need to have a look at our spend. We also need to have a look at how much attention we pay to it. And I think no longer is it fair for us to abdicate our responsibility as partners or directors of the firm onto somebody else. I think, one of the things that we're doing in our organisation is that directors are taking full responsibility. Sure, we're going to get somebody to help integrate the new software, and we'll get a champion to lead it, but you've got to have, who's the partner in charge on it. And that's one of the things that I've decided that I want to spend a bit more time now doing in our organisation, a little bit less out there and being a big mouth, and a little bit more internal with our organisation. And I've always pushed it off, and now I'm excited about the challenge of looking at our documents storage and.
I agree with you, and I think an expression I liked, which I picked up when I left the first software company, was I learnt enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
That's what you know. Yeah. Ask questions.
Yes.
Well, that does make sense.
Yeah.
What's that stand for?
Yeah.
What's that acronym stand for?
Yeah.
Just ask, be the dumb guy asking the questions. But I agree with you. It should be at partner level. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's your business at the end of the day.
The only other thing that I've often taken away from my early chats, when I can remember having a chat to Mike McHenry, and Mike was always said about put the governance around it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you
absolutely.
can actually put something in place. But how do you check that it's actually working and being used properly? So make sure you're always going back, and that governance
that's a very good point. He's a good guy, Mike McHenry.
He's a good lad.
But that's a good point, like an audit check to make sure, you create this world, you say this is how we're going to operate now to practice. You've got to make sure that people are actually following it.
Yep.
Correct.
And we were surprised when we looked through it. We just did a quick integrity check on some Xero files that we have gotten, the amount that didn't have bank rules, and I didn't understand why people would be spending the time every month to code something to bank charges when you can create a bank rule for that. Yeah. So there's those, and when the partner is involved and has a vested interest and shows that their commitment, if I can do it, then a fourth-year accountant can do it.
Spot on.
Course.
Spot on. Look, we're going to wrap up. Malcolm,
thank you very much for joining us.
Been a
It's
pleasure.
Been a pleasure to have you here and work through all the different elements. Jason, it's always a pleasure to see you, my friend.
You too, Jan.
We didn't talk too much footy, which was good, and we don't need to, but that's okay. You still owe me $1. To all of you that have been online and still online, thanks for joining us today. It's been a fantastic chat. You'll see, funnily enough, we were talking about a little bit about systems just before. Our next virtual lunch, which is coming up on July the 8th, we're talking about systems and efficiencies and processes. So again, you'll get an invitation to that. Join us. It'll be an open forum, very collaborative. So please make sure you join us on July 8th. Otherwise, gents, time to wrap up. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Good
Malcolm.
on you.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Good to see you.